society.
Ms. Madhu Prasad,
today we are looking at only one option.
There are some of our panelists who would like to rebut you.
How can I get the biggest job with the biggest salary? That's not the only option in life. That is not what education
you made it
is
forcefully.
about.
I agree with what you have said. I understand what you're saying, that the government must improve the quality of government-run schools instead of offloading its responsibility and shifting onus to private institutions. I agree with you. However, Ms. Madhu Prasad, let me put this point to some other... Ms. Prasad, just allow some of our panelists, they also have equally strong views, they want to rebut you tonight. They want to rebut you tonight, and I put a direct question here. A social club has existed, has it not?
Yes, of course.
Have we not had a social, educational club of privilege?
No. It has been created by the government.
And it has been created by the government.
It's been created by private institutions as well, hasn't it?
If you want to change the way a modernized kid thinks or behaves, you put 25% poor kids in that school. You make it the responsibility of the seniors to teach these juniors so that they can be brought up. But you have to do it in a way, while you're doing that, you have to make sure, or the government has to make sure, that it is in actual fact spending the money that it allots. It doesn't spend the money it allots. It gets
I think it's all obfuscation. I'm sorry, Mr. Chopra, this is obfuscation, and I don't like the word charity. I don't like the word charity. Why are we calling it charity? I detest the word charity.
Why charity?
It's not charity. To give a child from an underprivileged background the opportunity to sit next to someone from a privileged background is an opportunity for both sides.
I'm not saying charity.
But some word, Arindam Chaudhary used the word charity.
No.
It's a responsibility.
If you're doing charity, that can't be made compulsory.
May I say one thing?
If you're doing CSR, that's not compulsory.
May I add a point here? Today, unfortunately, the brutal reality in India today is that students in privileged schools go and teach occasionally, once a week, twice a week, once a month, in an underprivileged school, more to get their points for what their social work part of their curriculum is, so that they can write that we also spent some time with underprivileged children. However, my question is, would the parents of those same children...
You can't be that cynical. There is a sincere effort also at some place. You can't be that cynical. I mean,
let me ask you, why do schools have such a problem with taking the children with the same class of privileged children and not putting them, not segregating them into an evening section, a post-evening section, or a weekend section?
I think one of the issues that they would have is a practical issue, in the sense, please understand, a guy coming from a well-off family, from the time that he's sent to a preschool, is getting a baseline education that prepares this kid for the KG or the first year or the second year.
But I think Arnav has got a point.
You have to
Wait a minute. Arnav has got a point. It is a fact. But the real issue is this: why is there a difference between a private school and a government school?
Absolutely.
That will take a long time. My question is...
No, it doesn't take a long time.
No,
when I was a student, people went to college
and then there wouldn't be any private school. If government schools would be giving great education, then private schools would have the greatest competition from the government schools.
In Bihar, attendance of children fell by 10% in the last 4 years.
How many teachers were there in the class?
No, we keep talking about the great work Nitish Kumar has done.
So that the market for private schools remains. You're creating space for privatization and commercialization of education by doing this. Because the day the public school system actually begins to start functioning,
Madhu Prasad, the government...
How many government school teachers, in actual fact, even on the payrolls, are actually attending? Please tell me.
Absolutely. No, but I want to raise another question. Apart from their attending, they have such low self-worth and self-esteem. Even your act says you can use them for census duty, election duty, disaster management things. Why would you not use teachers from private schools for similar duties? Let them also...
Mohandas Pai, my question to you is that some of our panelists think that let us improve government schools first instead of taking a 25%
He also
quota.
He also thinks.
Let there be 25%. Let the government pay for it.
But you see, knowing the pace at which the government works, Ms. Madhu Prasad, let me just put that question to Mohandas Pai. Knowing the pace at which the government works... No, I'm just coming to you. Knowing the pace at which the government works, we may wait another generation before the government gets its act together.
At least, if not
and
more.
in that generation, another whole section of India will go into another side of a chasm. The divide in India will grow, won't it? Won't it, Mohandas Pai? I want your
1% of the students. I agree with your statement. I agree with the statement that there is elitism in some part of our private schools.
Mohandas Pai.
Yes, Arnab, I agree with the statement that we need this. Arnab, I agree with the statement that we need this move.
One second, Mohandas Pai. Yeah, Madhu Prasad, that question was to Mohandas Pai. Yes, go ahead.
Just to a few elite children here and to 80% sitting in some schools that nobody bothers about.
Yeah, but I'd like Mohandas Pai to take that. Yes, Dr. Pai.
Arnab, I agree with you that there is a creeping elitism in some part of a school system.
Mohandas Pai, please, yes.
Arnab, it is a very small. Arnab, it's a very small part of a schooling system. They must open up, and like I said earlier, children should reflect the diversity of society, and I totally agree with you. But what is happening today by opening up the doors of the schools is not going to solve the problem. The chasm is going to be even wider in future unless we attack the 100%. By attacking the 5% and opening up, yes, is a step forward. We all support it. I think it should be done. But we're skirting the issue. Tomorrow the government will wash its hands of quality education by saying, hey, look, we did this, we gave reservation, our job is over. That's the danger this country is going to face,
propaganda value.
Absolutely.
Lot of propaganda value.
Let's put the pressure on the government. Let's say we put the pressure on the government, increase the responsibility of the government, but fundamentally I don't know why none of our panelists today are agreeing that there is a mindset problem.
I have agreed with you.
Why is there a privilege
there is a mindset
for government servants in central schools?
But even that can be tackled. Why isn't the government trying to tackle that? The government can easily say that we will improve the quality of education in our schools as well, and till that time, the guys who get to the private schools, we will not just take care of their cost of education, but also the cost of giving them hostel, giving them food in hostel.
Is there any other country in the world? Is there any other country in the world, Arindam, and to our panelists? One minute, Madhu Prasad, 1 minute. What's? Is there any other country in the world where the divide between a 10-year-old boy in an underprivileged family and a 10-year-old boy from an affluent family is as great as India? I mean, why aren't we seeing it? We are sitting on the top of a social implosion.
You are absolutely right. It's not there.
There are many such countries.
Part of this country.
You would be amazed if you went to some of the publicly funded schools in the United States, in Australia, in the UK. And you saw the standards that are there. And, I mean, some of those kids coming out of school can't read and write on a...
That doesn't justify anything.
No, but that's besides the issue. Look, the fact is that social responsibility, 25% reservation is a sound policy. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Okay, yes. That's an absolutely sound policy. You want to change the mindset. You're absolutely right. There is a social mindset. There is a barrier. That barrier is being erected by parents more than by the children because
by the government. It's being erected by the government.
Government in the sense of the politician and the bureaucrat, the way they behave and the way they raise their kids. But it's also a fact that if you want to change that mindset, you have to change it from kindergarten.
My experience is that whenever you want to break into a club,
if you have to change
the people on the other side who are inside the club get extremely upset. And in terms of education, and we've seen it at all levels. Madhu Prasad, in terms of education, I sense a strong anger from the new elite in India against
because education is power, knowledge is power, education is power. So it is the route to upward mobility, it is the route to power structures, and there is a social stratification. Nobody wants that to actually break. You're right on that. At the same time, while we must break it, and in colleges, we try to break it a lot, and it has broken. After all, 50% of segment belongs to the socially underprivileged sections of society. It can be done in schools too. But at the same time, the government must improve its system. It must treat its teachers to begin with properly, with respect.
Right here in Delhi, you have Sanskriti school. Right here in Delhi, you have Sanskriti school, which is government funded. It is it's people by government. It is IAS, IPS kids. Throw 25% of the seats out tomorrow. Let me see them do it.
Well, everybody must do it. Everybody must do it, but not just do it. You know, I'm not understanding that the owners is actually
now look. The central government has central schools meant only for the employees of the central government. Why don't they have such schools for everybody?
I say break the old boys club.
Exactly.
I'd say break the old boys club. Break the club, change the barriers, get the new generation in, invest in the 10-year-old, because if tomorrow there is nothing more magical, I think, if that 10-year-old, when they are 30-year-old, and the 10-year-old from an underprivileged background, a 30-year-old, when they are 30-year-olds, if they can stand hand to hand and say, we went through this process together and we created a new India. I may be too much of an idealist, but I think that should happen. That is the way to go.
You're not getting the point. Through this process, only 1% kids would at 30 be saying
take
this.
That 1%.
And that should be there.
Take that 1%, but let that 1% happen.
But let the other 99% also...
I also want to tell you tonight that I spoke to some people today who are on the other side of this economic wall about the impact of this. And let me tell you, I'd like to share this with Mohandas Pai and Madhu Prasad as well. There was some who actually told me, we can now dream of sending our children to the same schools that your children go to. And I think there is some sense of justice.
That's true.
I feel that but even that minuscule people,
other people, we need the government to provide great education, free education, not till age of 14, but till PhD level.
Well, I want to ask one question to Mohandas Pai. Mohandas Pai has been an HR director at one of India's top organizations, Infosys. My question to Mohandas Pai is, tell me, Mohandas Pai, is success a consequence of fire in the belly as well? And is it true or not that there is greater fire in the belly to succeed when you have been denied the opportunities that you have had when you were a child?
Absolutely, Arnab. The most successful people in Infosys when I was HR director were the people who came from a very poor background, not a privileged background. And they did extremely well. They had fire in the belly, they had passion, they had energy. In fact, let me tell you, 40% of the engineers we hired and who came to Mysore were children of laborers, housemaids, were children of farmers, were children of ordinary people who struggled, who borrowed money, and who who paid fees, who came first, who passed our test and came there. They couldn't speak well, they didn't dress well, but let me tell you, everybody was a world beater. I admire those people because they struggle against all odds, Arnab. And let me say, in the colleges is much more egalitarian, in schools it is not.
We back you on that.
Look, you know, while what you're saying...
We back you on that.
Please, can I raise this point at this point? What you're saying is very important. Individuals will always cross the divide of privilege and lack of privilege. But you must realize that individuals crossing the divide of privilege and lack of privilege is not going to change the system. The system has to be approached differently. If the government is going to start pouring its money into private education, then they're not going to be able to build a sound system of government education.
If you're a grandparent, if you're an uncle, an aunt, a friend of someone who goes to a privileged school, I want you to think tonight whether you will be proud or embarrassed if your child is sitting next to an underprivileged child. If the answer is that you are proud, then we can set the foundation for a new India. Thank you very much.